SOP 139. All right, you stataholics. I compare FeedBurner stats to the Libsyn stats. I compare 2007 stats to 2008. And we talk about how you can get visitor information free from Google and use it in a WordPress plugin.
It's the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. Here's Dave Jackson.
All right, welcome to the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. I am Dave Jackson. Thank you for tuning in. This is where we talk about all things podcasting. Our website is schoolofpodcasting.com. Our contact information, very easy. Just email me, schoolofpodcasting@gmail.com. Everything we talk about you can find out at the show notes at shownotes.schoolofpodcasting.com. And our phone number, 888-563-3228. Courtesy of podcastvoicemail.com. And of course, if you're outside the U.S., try 234-542-0893. On the show today, going to be a quick show today. I'm just going to jump right into it. And that is, I thought, I don't pay a lot of attention to my stats. It's kind of interesting when you first get into podcasting, you check your stats on a daily basis. And now that I've been doing this since 2005, I do my show. I email back and forth with my listeners and, voicemail, things like that. And I'm having fun. And if it's going out to 400 people, if it's going out to 1,000 people or 1,600 people, I'm having fun. And I'm meeting some great friends. And I'm going to move my microphone here. There we go. And so I finally went back. And what I did was I went to January 2007. The month of January 2007, and took I take this back. I went back and I took the first episode of 2007 for the School of Podcasting's morning announcements, and I compared it to the first podcast of 2008. And so when I looked at that, obviously the podcast from 2007 has an extra 365 days to be downloaded. When I record this, it's May 1st, which is the 152nd day of 2008. So the first episode of 2008 has had 152 days to be downloaded. The first episode of 2007 has had 517 days to be downloaded. So I took the first episode of The Musician's Cooler, which is another podcast I do, the first episode of Building a Better Dave at betterdave.com, and the first podcast of the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. And I found that I then took... This is so boring to listen to, I bet, isn't it? The first day of 2007. Let's take the School of Podcasting. The first podcast of 2007 has been downloaded 1,400 times. Okay, but again, that's over 517 days, which comes out to 2.7 downloads per day. Okay, where the first episode of the School of Podcasting's morning announcements in 2008 was downloaded 801 times over 152 days, which translates to 5.2 downloads per day, or an increase of 95%. Building a Better Dave, first episode in 2007, downloaded 1,617 times, and 2008, 915 times. That translates to 3.12 downloads per day in 2007. 2008 downloads 6.01 or 6.02, or an increase of 92%. In The Musician's Cooler, the first podcast was downloaded 1,689 times, or 3.27 times per day, again, over 517 days. The Musician's Cooler episode, first one for 2008, has been downloaded 1,032 times, or 6.8 times per day. That is an increase of 108%. 3.27 to 6.8, basically. And so I took the 108, the 92, and the 95. That averages a 98% increase in my listenership. Or I should say downloads, I guess. I don't know. I'm playing with numbers. I just wanted to see, hey, is my audience growing? And because we always read that podcast numbers are going up. And so I thought, well, how can I get this? Because I can't compare just 2007 to 2008, because 2007 has been being downloaded for 365 days. So that's why I did the whole divide it per day thing. And so, yeah, we're going from 2.7 to 5.3. We've gone from 3.1 to 6.0. We've gone from 3.3 to 6.8 downloads per day on some of my podcasts. So if you think podcasting is a fad, because everybody, remember about 6 months ago, podcasting's dead, man. Audio's dead. No, it's not. It appears to me to be growing at a rapid rate from last year to this year. So just some numbers I was playing with. You might want to go back and see. It's kind of a pain in the butt to figure out how many days a show has been out, but once you figure that out, it's not that bad. And then you take, the smallest. Let's see, what did I do here? I took the biggest minus the smallest divided by blah, blah, blah. That whole 9 yards. So if you're thinking that podcasting is a fad, or if you're not sure about your numbers, I just look at, again, number one, I don't worry about my numbers. Maybe it's a bad thing. But I'm just worried about content. I feel that if you create good content, the numbers will come. So, podcasting is on the rise. We all knew that. And I did my own little research. And that's what I found. In my book, my listenership is going up 98% a year. Not too shabby. Hey, have you been thinking about putting your toe in the podcast pool? Then you need to come to PodCamp Ohio, June 28th at Hilliard, Ohio. That's near Columbus, at the ITT Technical Institute. Now, the best thing is, it's a single-day event. None of this multiple-day, multiple brain drain stuff. It's from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Not too early, not too late. What are we going to be doing there? We're going to be providing multiple rooms with various topics where attendees can learn and discuss podcasting, new media, blogging, social networking, and other related topics. And you may be thinking, but I don't really have much of a budget to learn how to podcast. The best part, it's free. This is Dave Jackson from theschoolofpodcasting.com, and if you already have a podcast, don't miss this free opportunity to come and brainstorm and network with your fellow podcasters. June 28th, PodCamp, Ohio. For more information and to register today, go to podcampohio.com. All right, people always ask me, Dave, stats. Speaking of stats, should I turn on my PodPress stats? Should I turn on my FeedBurner stats? Should I turn on my Libsyn stats? And my answer is, pick one and go with it. I did if you were a longtime listener, you know I used to have the podcast promo show. And really one of the biggest reasons why I turned that on, I never used FeedBurner stats for any promo, for any podcasting like that. And so I used Libsyn for my host, and I used FeedBurner stats, and I compared the two. And here is what I found, that basically, let me give you a couple stats here as I turn away from the mic. I got to look at another computer monitor. An example, show number 1 had 29 downloads according to FeedBurner. It had 42 downloads according to Libsyn. Show number 2, 26 downloads according to FeedBurner, 36 according to Libsyn. And it goes on and on and on. Let's find another higher. Show number 18 according to FeedBurner had 52 downloads. According to Libsyn, it had 66. In a nutshell, I went through 57 shows and averaged a 29% difference between the two numbers. Another example, show number 66, 22 downloads in FeedBurner, 36 downloads in Libsyn. And yes, I made sure that when I was looking at FeedBurner stats, I said all data. So it ranged anywhere from a 12% difference to a 56% difference. So, and in my book, if you're, whatever your web host is, that's why I use Libsyn. Libsyn has a decent stats package. And because if you think about it, PodPress, which is a WordPress plugin, has stats, but those stats are going to be based on downloading it from, in my case, Libsyn. So why not just go to the core there? If you have any feedback on this, I'd love to hear it. I guess you could always have, and in some cases and then there's PodTrack. in some cases, a lot of these are putting in redirects. So you're redirecting from one person who redirects it to the next person who redirects it to the next person who finally gives you the MP3 file or the video file. And I'm like, the more you put in there, the more chance of your listener, your viewer, not getting your file. So I would just say pick one and go with it. I use Libsyn. That doesn't mean that they're more accurate, because I don't know. There's no way to tell. I know Rob Walsh from Podcast 411 did a similar study a while back and said he found about a 5% difference, I think. I should go back and listen to that. But it was an almost wash in terms of they were so close. Mine, not so much. Again, showing 57 shows over a couple-month period, I was showing a 29% difference. So the key is, I would say, just pick one, go with it, and then just see if it grows. And I also say, don't get so focused on the stats. Like I said, this is the first time I've played with my stats in a while. And like I said, the podcast promo show, which is now podfaded, one of its core reasons was to test the FeedBurner stats, which I did. And I kind of went, they're different. Now, they're consistently off, kind of. Like I said, it varied from anywhere from 12% to 58%. But I think if I threw out the top and bottom numbers, it would be probably, as I look over here, around 30% off. And I should say 30% different. Doesn't mean that FeedBurner is wrong. It just means it was always lower. The Libsyn stats were always higher. So that's, again, to me, if you've ever wondered, hey, I wonder which one's more, from my records, this is what I have found. All right, one of the things we do out at the School of Podcasting is we have a weekly roundtable where folks get together and kind of say, here's what I'm doing. If you get a brand new person, we answer all the newbie questions. Those are always fun, and we get to fill them in on all the things you can avoid and things like that. But we talk a lot about plugins on occasionally, and since we're talking about stats, I thought I would talk about the Google Analytics plugin for WordPress that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Somebody brought this up. And what Google Analytics is, if you've never heard of it, it's a free service from Google that basically enables you to put a piece of code from Google onto your website, and they will track all sorts of incoming, outgoing links, etc., where your people came from, geographic, it's just insane amounts of information from your visitors to your blog. So if you're looking for a demographic and things like that, in terms of geography, a lot of interesting stuff. The great thing is it's free. Well, there's a plugin for WordPress, because normally you have to put this code on every page. Well, for WordPress, you put that code from Google into this plugin, and the plugin puts it on every page. So I'll put a link to this out at the show notes, and of course, I'll be making a tutorial. I think this one might require a tutorial, especially if you're unfamiliar with Google Analytics, to get you going with that. So if you're a member of the School of Podcasting, look for that in the near future. And maybe we'll talk about this in more in-depth at the next roundtable. But our website is schoolofpodcasting.com. Everything I talked about, if you want to check out this plugin, I'll have a link to it out in the show notes at shownotes.schoolofpodcasting.com. Our email is schoolofpodcasting@gmail.com, and our phone number is 888-563-3228, courtesy of podcastvoicemail.com. And if you're outside the U.S., try 234-542-0893. This is Dave Jackson, your personal podcast coach, thanking you for tuning in to the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. I deeply appreciate it, and I would love your feedback on anything that we talked about today. Use those numbers, use that email, and we will talk about it next week when we reconvene. Until then, class dismissed.